Good morning, everyone. Or at least it's morning here. I don't know what time it is when you're watching. We have a new video today. Apologies if I seem a little sleepy. It's because I am a little sleepy. I didn't really sleep that well last night, so just trying to get slowly into the groove here. It's about 10 a.m. So I already had my script or my bullet points prepared for today's video, so I just thought, let's film the video today. So here are 10 pieces of advice that I think everyone needs to hear. I have, of course, some tea here, so feel free to grab something nice for yourself too. Alright, the first piece of advice that I think everyone needs to hear is something that I've learned in recent years, that if someone comes to you and they want something from you, it's usually in their benefit, not necessarily in yours. So this just works in general when it comes to negotiations or, people coming to you with like a special offer for something, people wanting to work with you or collaborate with you. Anytime basically someone approaches you and not the other way around. Let me explain a little bit more. It doesn't necessarily mean that what they're offering is not in your best interest as well. Like there could be an upside for you to this proposition or something that they have as well, but they wouldn't come to you if it wasn't in their best interest in the first place. I used to be, and I still can be, quite naive, and if someone approaches you and they have like a good deal or an offer or something, I basically just felt like, trusting whatever they said, and sometimes, that's fine. Of course, this whole thing doesn't apply if it's someone that you know personally, like a good friend or a family member or something. Like they probably do have your best interest at heart. One more thing that I wanted to say is, if you feel like the other person is trying to make you think like there's nothing in it for them, or they're trying to like minimize their gains, or they just don't mention them, that's a good sign that these people might be hiding something, or making it seem like a better deal for you than it really is. So if someone is trying to be like, yeah, I'm doing this for you, again, unless you know the person personally, but if that's going on, then you need to be extra critical. Next piece of advice that I've definitely had to learn and found really helpful is that it is okay if friendships are based on circumstances. So if that is because you've worked with that person and you've become like work friends, or school friends, or like hobby friends, like for example, you meet every week in a yoga class, things like that. I'm the type of person, I really value long-standing relationships and long-standing friendships, and if someone is in my life for a very long time, I feel like, it's worth putting in the effort to keep that relationship alive and well. And so let's say, the place where I worked at for 5 years before I eventually quit, I had some really good friends there. That's really how it felt like to me at the time. And it wasn't that they weren't good friends, it was just that they were work friends. And I was naive in thinking that we could keep that friendship going after I left that company. And in reality, things like that usually, not always of course, but they kind of die out as soon as those circumstances that were, the basis of your friendship change. After a while, you kind of just stop hanging out, and it's not really anyone's fault. It's just that you've grown apart, and it's probably the reason that you became friends was mostly because of those circumstances. Like, really thinking about it, there wasn't anything that we had in common, not enough anyway, to keep the friendship going, even if you don't work together anymore. It was mostly the fact that you work together and you're in close proximity to each other every day for a couple days a week, that the friendship kind of came to be in the first place. So I was a little bit upset at first when things changed, and after a while you just didn't really hear from the other person anymore. And I always have a rule where I do my best to keep a friendship going, and I always try to get back in touch and ask like if they want to hang out, or ask just how they're doing and stuff. But if I have to initiate that like a couple of times in a row and the other person just doesn't initiate anything, I kind of just let it be for a while and see what happens. And sometimes, the other person comes back to you, and sometimes they don't. And that used to upset me a little bit. Now I know that these things are very normal. People are leading their lives, and it is okay if a friendship was temporary just based on that circumstance that you were both in at the time. It's okay to show how hard you're trying and possibly fall on your ass. I don't know what this was, but I used to be the kind of person who was very aloof in the way that I wanted to come across, and I was kind of trying to downplay how much I was trying something or how hard I was working at something, because you know, if it doesn't work out and you fall on your ass or you make a mistake or something, at least it's not that people think that you really tried. There's a weird thing here going on. Basically, I was just scared about trying really hard and showing that I was trying really hard and then failing and people being like, oh, she's nothing, like she ain't much. And that's weird. Who cares, first of all? Second, making mistakes is all part of the journey, so you are going to fall on your ass a couple of times, and that is absolutely fine. And what if people see like there's nothing important there? And also, by not really trying, you are most definitely keeping yourself back. You're holding yourself back because you're not giving things your all, or at least you're trying to come across as if you're not giving things your all. I think it's kind of like, you know, wanting to be like the Fonz, you know, like Fonzie being like cool like a cucumber. And if you're really, you know, trying and giving it your all, you are putting yourself out there, you're making yourself vulnerable, and you are showing that this is what you can do, and quite possibly it might not be enough at that time. It's okay to show that you're really trying. It's okay to have a good time somewhere with people and actually mention like, oh, I'm having such a nice time. Like, you don't have to be aloof all the time. Maybe that's not you, but that used to be me a little bit, and I learned that, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or something, that it really was, first of all, so unnecessary, and second, it was holding me back. So I really try to let that go, give things my all, show people how much I care about things, and possibly fall on my ass and show that too, because it's all part of it. A wise person should have money in their head, not in their heart. I love this piece of advice. I love this quote. It works on so many levels. So what I think this means is money in the head means, you know, being smart about your money, thinking about ways that you could be more intentional about how you spend your money, how you save your money, or possibly, I don't know, investing or something that, you know, thinking about things like inflation and interest and all of that stuff that really does not interest me at all. But it is important to think about these things. Just make smart decisions with the money that you do have, so that you're not wasting it on silly things and stuff. However, you shouldn't have money in the heart means that you shouldn't make money your main motivation in life. It shouldn't be the reason why you do things, and there shouldn't be anything in your heart that is always craving more, like more money. And I think that is so good because it really helps with the role that money can have in your life. Unfortunately, we do live in a society where you need it in order to just have a roof over your head and food to eat and stuff. But it shouldn't like influence you in your soul or in your heart or in your core. So for example, I don't like money to be the number one reason why I make a certain decision. And of course you need to have enough money to have your basic needs met in order to have the luxury of being able to choose something like that. But once you do, I want money to be like a side thing. Like, yeah, it's good to think about, but it shouldn't be the reason why I accept a job or why I accept a sponsorship, or my integrity to me is always way more important and way more valuable than money. So for me, I've never been the type of person who just has a lot of like importance on money. So it's not that I've ever done something because of the paycheck or something. If I don't like something, I will just not do it if I have the option not to. However, what money in the heart kind of does sometimes mean to me is fear, scarcity mindsets, and just worrying that I might not have enough when I'm older and I'm retired, Or also the months when my income just really decreases. Sometimes that happens when you work for yourself. There's always kind of like an ebb and flow. And whenever I'm in one of those like down swings, I get a little scared of like, oh, what if this keeps happening? What if I don't make enough to pay the bills and stuff like that? So for me, there's mostly fear, and that's also just a waste of energy in my opinion. So money in the head, but not in the heart. Next one is you only have one body. This is something that I really did not fully realize when I was younger. And I kind of put my body through a lot actually. I was partying quite a bit in high school. And it's not that I actively regret it, because it's all life experiences, and I am very thankful that nothing really bad ever happened, because it definitely could have, but it never did. So that is something I'm very grateful for. But now that I am getting a little bit older, I am really starting to realize like, wow, I only have one body. I really need to take care of it, because your body's not always going to be young, and there are going to be issues later on down the line if you're lucky to live long enough. So the importance of taking care of your body is becoming much more apparent to me now that I've gotten a bit older. Also with your teeth, like you have one set of teeth. And I used to go to bed without brushing my teeth, like, I don't know, maybe once a week or something. Now I never ever do that, because if I would just lie awake thinking like, oh, I didn't brush my teeth. Health has become a much more important factor in my decision making overall than it used to be. You can't be happy if you have a negative attitude. So keeping a positive attitude and being optimistic is, I think, one of the best things that you can do for yourself. And I often think that people who have like a really negative energy about them, or who are very pessimistic about things, probably oftentimes, this is my thinking anyway, there's no proof to any of this, but this is just how I'm thinking about it. There is something maybe in their past or something that happened that, you know, made them at one point feel very sad or very angry or very disappointed with life. And you develop this kind of inner persona that is trying to warn you or keep you from any further harm by keeping your expectations low and by not allowing yourself to be excited about things or hopeful about the future, because what if it, you know, doesn't work out? And I think that there is actually a side to us that is it means well, it wants to protect us, but by being so negative, it is actually holding us back from enjoying our life right now. And of course, we don't have to feel positive all the time. I personally have this pet peeve where I really don't like toxic positivity either. So, you know, I remember at my job, we were not allowed to say problem. We would always have to say an opportunity or a chance or something. It's like, oh, sometimes things are just a problem. Problems can be solved. We don't have to make a big deal about the word choice. This is just my personal opinion. But it does matter how you approach things. If things don't go your way, you could be like, oh, you know, I knew this would happen, this sucks, and like being very negative. Or you could be like, oh, okay, yeah, this kind of sucks. I wasn't expecting it. How can I turn it around, or something, like focus on the positive. If you're feeling bad and it's nighttime, just go to sleep. This is one of the simplest and most profound lessons that I have learned in my life. I am not an evening person. I'm a morning person. I love the mornings, even if I'm a little sleepy like now. I just feel happiest and most cheerful and energetic in the mornings. At the start of the evening, like right after dinner, I always like that too, because that's when like leisure time starts. So that's fun too. But after like, I don't know, maybe 8 p.m. or something, I get tired, and sometimes my mood just really drops. And especially I notice this now that the seasons are changing and it's starting to get dark earlier in the evening. As soon as it gets dark, my mood usually just drops with it. And sometimes it stays at a level that I can definitely still work with, and sometimes it just goes down the drain and I kind of feel like crap. That's when your mind starts making up all kinds of problems that you apparently have, that you really don't have as much, and they just seem way bigger because it's nighttime and because it's dark and because you're tired. So I've learned that when I feel like that, I just kind of go to bed. I just, take my time brushing my teeth, washing my face, doing my skincare, reading a book, like drinking a cup of tea in bed even. Like this routine can take a while, like an hour or so, just slowly getting ready for bed. But I don't really expect anything more of myself, and I don't make myself think about these issues that I apparently have, or come up with solutions, or make big life choices or changes or something based on those moments, because I know that 90% of the time, as soon as I wake up in the morning, the issue is gone and I feel way better. Acknowledge how hard you're trying and give yourself a hug. I think self-compassion is underrated. Very, very much so. In our society, we're always expected to push ourselves and strive for things and work hard and all of that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with it necessarily, but I do think that we don't get taught to have compassion and kindness towards ourselves. And how good would it feel for a friend of yours or your partner or whoever to really say to you like, I can see how hard you're trying, I can see how hard you're working, bless your heart, you're doing such a good job, and give you a hug. Like I think that might make me cry. I mean, my partner does it often for me actually, and oftentimes it does make me cry. But that's just such a nice feeling, and we don't have to necessarily even rely on others to do that for us. We could do it for others, by the way, that's a nice gesture, but we can also do it to ourselves. And that's something that I've learned in the last couple of years, to sometimes just take a little moment to acknowledge for myself how hard I'm trying, with just trying to do life in general, like cook and work and just all the things, and not even think about your accomplishments or your failures or anything in terms of like the results of your actions, but just acknowledging the fact that you are trying. And I think that's very powerful. And then giving yourself a hug is also just, it's magic. If something gives you a lump in your stomach, listen to that feeling. Trusting your gut and your instincts and your intuition is so important, and it has saved me from making the wrong decisions in my life a bunch of times. And sometimes something happens and you feel it in your gut and you can't place it, and you start to doubt yourself. You start to think like, yeah, I'm feeling this, but there's no sign of anything actually happening, or why am I feeling this way? And you start to kind of just doubt yourself and push that feeling away. And in my case anyway, something always happens. Like it was always right. It was always right to warn me. So I've really learned to listen to my intuition like that. And the same thing goes the other way around. If something gives you happy feelings, butterflies in your stomach, makes you feel excited, that's always a good sign. So your gut is very good at telling you like yes or no sometimes. It doesn't always. Sometimes I just, I wish it would tell me something when it doesn't. But when it does, I really try to listen. The most important thing is to be able to look at yourself in the mirror. I really think this, and it is about knowing where to compromise and where to not compromise, and honoring your ethics, your beliefs, your values. It's about standing up for yourself when you really need to. If I could go back to certain times in my life, I really wish I stood up to a certain boss that I had at the time, for example, and I wish I told them to, in professional terms, stick one up there. But that's okay, like we learn from those experiences, and we're not always going to have the right answer at the right time. In the end, you are the one who has to live with yourself your whole life. You're always going to be the person staring back at you in the mirror. If you do things that really just don't sit right with you for reasons that are not good enough, then you're going to notice it, I think. I don't believe in beating yourself up about these things. I don't believe in regret. I don't believe in being angry at yourself. I believe in forgiveness. So if you have things, certain examples of this, forgive yourself and learn from them and try better next time. A really silly example of this that I am actually sure none of you would ever do. But let's say you find someone's wallet on the street, and there's a way for you to give that wallet back to the person that it belongs to. If you take the money from that wallet, especially if you don't need it, you're not really going to be able to look at yourself in the mirror probably. So that's kind of like a silly example, but it is true that for me anyway, it is way more important at the end of the day if I can be proud of the decisions that I've made, if I can stand behind them, if I don't compromise necessarily on what I think is important in life. That's always worth more than the oftentimes short-term gains of doing something that you don't feel comfortable with, or doing it for someone else because you're afraid to say no. Alright, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that this video was a bit of a roller coaster, like all kinds of different topics, but I felt inspired yesterday, and that's when I wrote those 10 pieces of advice down. I'm going to get all of these files onto my laptop, and then I'm going to visit my parents for the first time actually that we've moved here. We've seen them a couple of times obviously, but it was always like either somewhere else or here at our apartment. So I am going to be visiting my parents. They got a new kitchen and a new floor, so I'm going to take a look. My parents are renting, and you can get a new kitchen every 20 years, I think. And it's so weird to me because I remember the last time that they got a new kitchen, which was 20 years ago, and I was 15, so that's not even like that, like super young. Time just flies. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well and have a wonderful rest of your day, and let me know what you think in the comments as always. Bye bye.